Hey, hey, hey.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to another collaboration. Where the meeting of the minds, it's the metal. I just wrote that.
I haven't been here in a while.
No, you can see, same old place. Got a new mascot up in the corner.
Yay.
Got a big crane you may or may not have seen.
I think once.
All right, so that's what's been happening.
What are we doing today?
Well, this is progressing pretty well. A lot of unfinished details, we still haven't finished the other half of the crane, working on some stuff for the landing here. Kyle got the engine running, if we all remember that. And then the one great missing link, aside from, the sheet metal we have to figure out on the cab, how's it going to steer? Because if you remember, this was a regular old truck. So the nose of the truck was here, and you sat back here. So the steering wheel went down here to the steering. Exhibit A. So we got a whole lot done, but there's still more to do. All right, so if you remember, that wasn't the front of the truck. This was the front of the truck, albeit it was way longer. That would be kind of neat, though, if we did make the truck that big. It would be almost like Little Jewel was originally, but we're not doing that. Or are we? No, we're not. Used to sit here, and the steering shaft went down to this here. So I have a great plan for this steering box. Do I tell you now or do I tell you later?
Hey, I like surprises. So.
All right. Well, I'll surprise you right now. Steering box is going to stay there.
Okay.
Right? But that's not going to steer the truck. You know what that steering box is going to do? Ready for this?
I'm ready.
The steering box is going to rotate the crane.
Bum, bum, bum. That is quite the surprise.
So check this out. The ring is going to have a series of indexes on it with a pin, right? This will be flipped upside down, so it'll be up here. So as this moves, it's going to offer the crane a degree of rotation. And it'll also hold it in place so you don't get this weird flailing around that we're witnessing. I know, it's a lot to take in. That's way down the road. What used to happen with this rod, the axle's way further away than it was, but I just cut this.
Yeah.
This used to be attached to that.
Yeah.
So that makes it steer, right? Mm-hmm. That lever swings front and back, makes this tire go. Like so, right? That design, it's not going to work for this because you're sitting here now, so the steering box is behind you. If you were sitting back there with a long nose, okay, that would all work out. I digress. I wanted to do something cool that took away from this whole design. So let's not even look at that anymore. One of our viewers didn't turn on the time lapse.
Ian forgot the time lapse. Do you guys like the time lapse at the end? That's where my musical taste shine.
As I was saying, one of our viewers came up with this genius idea because I was thinking about like a hydraulic ram setup with two hoses and a forklift style steering box, really complicated stuff. Somebody said, why don't you just get a rack and pinion for a heavy duty Dodge truck?
Ooh, I saw that.
So the options I was looking at were going to be thousands of dollars. This is from a 94 two-wheel drive Dodge Ram. It's the 3500 truck, so big, 8-lug rims, whatever it is, 1-ton truck. I'm not sure.
Whoa.
Either way, it's heavy duty. Not as heavy duty as this truck is, but we're never using this for the capacity it was intended. So I believe that consider the 3500 Dodge Ram, like you could put a giant camper on it. You could have all kinds of stuff attached to the trailer hitch. It's a heavy truck. And this is going to steer it. And some people put 36-inch tires on those things, and you know, that's what these are, 36-inch tires, but they're not off-road tires. They're actually pretty easy to steer. Anyway, check this out, $400.
Nice.
Did you get that? $400. And you can get them anywhere. AutoZone, any auto parts store. The problem I had when I introduced it last time was, you know, on a Dodge truck, you steer on this side. And when you steer it, it was going to make this steer backwards. Had a lot of input on that. I could just put this in front of the axle and switch these steering arms, but I don't want to see that. I want that hot rod, it's called like the suicide quarter elliptic look.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
So I want to hide this behind the axle. And that brings us to where we're at today. My speech is over.
That was a lot of thoughts.
It's a lot. There's a lot going into this. It's a long time in coming. Over a year, in fact. So Jamie and I, we went to the steel supply the other day. So this is what the rack looks like. And I'm like, well, how am I going to mount that? So I got these big 3.5-inch steel tubes. Pretty thick wall. Cut them all out. So the hardware goes right in. So typically this would be mounted on the frame of the truck. But then you'd have to worry about things like suspension travel, bump steer, Ackerman angle. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. But I saw this one guy who did this with his hot rod where he mounted this right to the solid axle. So the only issue, these will never have to flex like they do in a truck with suspension. These are just straight shots because everything's in line. The only flex is in the steering shaft. So with a U-joint and a slip shaft, it works. We'll get to the slip shaft in a minute because this is going to crack you up.
Slip shaft.
Slip shaft.
Oh, the names are so funny.
So you can see the tie rod. I cut that because I did a lot of figuring out so we could move right through this. Look at this tie rod. That's heavy duty.
Looks it.
You know, this truck was designed to carry a megaton of weight. It's a 10-lug, 22.5 rim. It's big time. You know what that means?
What does that mean?
10-lug, 22.5?
It's like, what is it? 420, 1220, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. 220, 221. Well, I mean, 10-lug, 22.5, whatever it takes, right? But
those are some giant tires.
this tie rod is designed, you know, you have a one-sided steering arrangement, right? So you're pushing that tire from this tire. So that's a huge amount of push. You drove the flame truck, right?
It was fun.
Massively chunky. So that's why this is so heavy duty. So, you know, this tire always controls that one. Now we're in the center, right? So these are considerably smaller. Look at the difference. I mean, some may say even undersized for what we're doing. But again, this came from a 3,500 truck. You know what I'm willing to do?
What?
I'm willing to make that gamble. I'm willing to take that bet.
Well, and I think too, this truck, and as our audience, you guys will soon find out, this truck is going to be pretty stationary at the house.
And also, any weight that's on it while you're driving is going to be like, it's not carrying a load on this. It's just the cab. All the weight will be on a trailer.
Right. And it's pretty much going to live like at the house. It's
Sure.
It's not really going
It's
to
not
be,
a grocery getter.
It's not going to be going miles and miles and miles and miles.
I do want to pull up a Carl's Jr. just once and select my fast food item with the crane right from the pickup window. All right. What we got to do? What do we got to do?
Well, first, I just want to say I like your shirt.
Well, it is the holiday season, and if you know me, I'm not a Grinch, but I also ain't that nice.
It's definitely Team Naughty.
That's right. I got my Googles to prove it. We're going to save that tube. That's heavy duty. That might even be the link for our crane setup. So you saw what we had, right? That tube is way too big for this. Because what we need to do, we need to splice this into this. You know, we'll still have our alignment adjustment because this will loosen. You know, I'm leaving it all cruddy because sometimes when you clean this up, it just makes it worse. So it's got a Zerk fitting. I'm going to grease it and I'll leave it with all that nice protective goo on it. But here we go, right? We're not going to use these threads because this is threaded. This is all here, and see there's plenty of room inside. But we can't just weld that to that. So we're going to have to make a couple adaptations. We're going to clean some paint off of this. We're going to weld this to the axle. We're going to set the alignment. We're going to attach the tie rods. It's going to steer, guaranteed. First thing, we're going to make a collar to adapt these two. And I got 2 sample pieces here because that's what I did yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't have the right size tube. I got one that's too big, one that's too small. See, that don't fit there. That does fit there. That's too big, and it's too big for that.
Dang.
Oh, we can't catch a break. Where's the metal supply? How far? Hour each way. What would you do in this situation?
Ooh. I honestly have no idea. But if you know, leave it in the comments. And also, we just like to take a moment. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, give us a subscribe.
Yeah.
We
and
appreciate
there's a hype
it.
button too. There's a thing called hype.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it does for us, but it makes me feel a lot better if you hype this.
And we're not slowing down. We are moving into the new year. We can't wait. We got some really exciting stuff to share into the new year. We can't share it yet.
Major developments.
But yeah, give us a subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And for everyone that's been here, we thank you.
I'm going to set this over here so it doesn't bop me in the head because I am a little bit tall. So if you didn't know what to do, we're about to do it. Now you'll know what to do when you have to do this yourself. We're going to cut this. I just measured the inside of each of those stubs. They're at about 3 inches. So this piece will be 3.5. So what I'm going to do is slice this. I'm going to open this up and we'll be able to squeeze it and shrink it down a little bit to fit inside that.
Ah.
That way it'll be a smaller tube than it was. All right, so I'm going to shrink these down a little bit right here. Close this up. They're nice and hot. All right, cool. Just take a look and see if this fits in here. Yeah, that'll fit. Cool. And that. Look at that. I like it. So I'm just going to close this and we'll hammer it in there. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm leaving a little bit hanging out because we're going to have kind of a stepped join and I'm going to have to drill through this. It's going to be a whole operation. And I only have my air drill today. Oh no, I have my electric. Yeah, I have a big electric drill. Okay. Good. I have kind of a big hole. All right, so I'm going to drill through here because we're going to do some plug welds. Basically, we're going to weld around here. We want to weld through, too.
Wow, you're finally getting organized.
Had a vague memory. You know, sometimes out on playa, things get a little bit sketched. Then you remember where you put the key. All right, drill this slightly larger. So this drill is only single speed, so sometimes it catches.
Whoa.
it catches you in for a whole adventure. I'm going to leave that bit in there just as an index. We'll drill another one. You want a nice big grab on there. So what I'm going to do is weld this one first, then I'm going to open that up. I'll blow that with air, but let's do the same to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to clean the paint off of this. We're going to slip it together and see what happens. Pretty interesting because this end to end is 55 inches. And this, when the alignment was set, it was 56 inches. So pretty interesting. They're almost the same width. All right, so this is what we got. Kind of a moment of truth. I chose this size because it actually fits to that axle perfectly. That's what we're getting at. I'm gonna have to bring a jack to set this up, but see how that locks in?
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. You'll weld that to that?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then this, you could see, let me put a floor jack under this.
It makes sense now to me.
Mm-hmm. Just another puzzle.
It is like a puzzle piece.
All right. So you want this straight. And we'll set the alignment, of course. So I got the rack perfectly centered. I did that yesterday also. See where we're going here? We can lower that. And we'll put this steering. Okay. See what we're getting at is we don't want it to hit the spring. So remember, there's no an independent suspension is doing this. So there's none of that here. This is only doing this, and if it does tilt, the rack is tilting with it. So we can be very close to these springs. We just don't want to touch. So let's lower this down a little bit. That. Yeah, see that? The steering, with this being flipped, this is on top now, so it's actually a better angle coming into the cab.
And that'll be the right-hand drive.
Exactamento.
Yeah.
Let me get a little piece so we can. So what we want to do now is we want the rack to be centered, and then we want to get the alignment set before we weld anything. Just trying to figure out where the balance point is on this. I just don't want to lift it by that piece. Yeah, so see what we're getting at? We want this to be here. We're going to put some more big braces on here, but that's very thick. We want to be sure we get that weld hot. Okay, so we got clearance. This is definitely centered because I measured a lot of times yesterday. Now, what we want, we don't know if these mounts are perfectly centered. So what I'm doing is I'm using these bands because that's the end of the housing. I'm measuring off of that. We're just going to center this between the leaf springs. Of course, this thing is just going to mess with us nonstop because that's just the way it works.
Now I don't want to move.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the chassis of Little Jewel, and I don't want to move.
Get that welder warmed up because we are going for some heavy heat.
Do you have an extra helmet for me here?
I think so. I just gotta look around. I'm just saying, we're at about 3.5 on that band. And that's 4, right? So we gotta come this way. 3 3/4 to the center. Yeah, so now we're close enough. 3 1/8. Right there. That was just too far. I felt it. 3 5/8 to the center. 3 3/4. I mean, we are just, as Victor would say, we're just milligrams away from success.
Milligrams.
He always mixes terms up. It's like, we need to move it over like 3 milligrams.
That's
like,
funny.
is that metric?
I miss Victor. We gotta go see
Is that
him.
metric? Yeah.
Find out what's going on that caddy.
Groovy. So let's tack this in place, and we're just going to tack it on top because we're going to steer it before we really commit. We're going to have to do our alignment back here. But this is really cold, so we're going to leave a good gap, about that much gap. And we're going to weld that.
Film as you're doing your settings.
Oh, we're already there. Yeah, I was welding that anvil and stuff that day.
Ah.
So we're good to go. Make sure our gas is on. I got something very special for you because I can't find your helmet.
Aw, just for today, we gotta order a new one.
Don't get any sparks on it.
Aw.
So this fella, Crazy Flake, custom painted this thing. It's rad.
It's beautiful.
So you can use it just like your inspection helmet. You can just hold it and you can look through
Okay,
that.
look at this. To Ian and Dude.
Yeah, I blew a bubble top for his hot rod.
Love it. Cute.
All right.
Alrighty.
So remember the ring cracked on the crane?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to eliminate here is because this is so cold. We want to get this warm, so I'll probably take the torch and warm it up. But right now I'm just doing this heavy tack to really just grab the steel without it cracking back later. See, I'm just burning away a lot of material just to get that heat in there. Yeah, I'll take the torch and I'll get that really hot when we weld it. So you see when you're looking at it from the front how discreet this is going to be. It's totally hidden.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And this is also one reason why I'm not tightening any of the hardware either, because the axle is going to come off. These are going to come off. It's all going to get flipped, welded, drilled, stress relieved. It goes on and on. So if you hear that sound, it's not the sound we want to hear. We're going to have to get in there and remedy it. That plink, you don't want that. Like it could, because we learned that the thick metal cools the thinner metal rapidly, thusly causing a stress fracture. All right, so that's locked in. Now we have an alignment to consider. Again, we know that that is centered, and you want, an 1/8 of an inch of toe in. I'm not sure, but I think we're gonna have to get a ratchet strap on this. This just bottomed out.
Is that good or bad?
Well, I thought, I'm looking at, usually, you see this casting mark?
Uh-huh.
You see this casting mark?
Yes.
That's kind of the center, straight ahead. And see, it wants to be a little bit past. We might have to cut the end off of that.
Oh, I see.
Because ideally, it would be a 90-degree angle, be perfectly square. And I'm looking down. Not look at the line on the floor. Not that the truck is even with the line in the shop floor, but you can see the front of this tire is way in. So
yeah, you
put
can.
a ratchet on there. So yeah, that'll make the steering. Scrubbing the tire, it'll be ugly. Let's see, where can we pull from that won't? Let's just pull from this side. All right, so the inside just touched, and I'm not really convinced that that tire is where it needs to be. It still looks considerably in. And we do want it adjustable, but right now it's bottomed. So if I make that longer, it's gonna make the problem worse. So let's take this, cut the end of that off just a little bit. Oh, look at that! Did you see it shifted? As soon as I took some weight off, it shifted it.
So you were saying you have to cut a part
The
off
inside.
of that black part?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it a 1/2 inch off just to be safe. So we just take this, steer it, it drops out, and nip that off with the cutter. And that's actually good. You know, we want that. We want the maximum amount of that pushing into this joint as possible. Actually, gonna go a little bit further. And last, we'll take this big steering knuckle off. Probably have to get the impact gun. Yeah, look now. That's where we want it. So now see these castings?
Mm-hmm. Ah.
And again, perfect, I don't know. Close. It's still adjustable, so that's cool. Yeah, you can get it just like that. So now, just so we're not too committed, I'm gonna weld out here. I'm just gonna run a bead across and just grab that before I plug weld it, because we're gonna test it by steering it with no weight on it. And then if it works, we're gonna commit. Yeah, so I mean, just visually, you know, we're gonna measure, but we're gonna measure just like we did. You know, this tire was like the master because it had the steering linkage, and then you set your alignment off of this one. See how I just ran that right over the piece? Mm-hmm. Temporary hold. All right, now we like where this is, but we're gonna lock that one into alignment. And typically it's about 1/8 inch of a toe in. It might be more or less for this bigger truck, but it's adjustable. We're in the ballpark. Let's discuss. Pop quiz, Jamie.
Oh, God. Pop quiz. Let me show them your work.
Let's see, that's just temporary.
That.
I mean, that'll be forever, but if we have to cut it, we can just nip that tack weld and adjust.
Oh, okay. Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. What's toe in?
Toe in is when it's like that.
There you go. You want every truck, every vehicle to be a little pigeon-toed, because as you're driving, you know, the rubber and everything just congeals into a more straightforward ride.
Are cars, regular cars, built like that? Everything's a little toe in?
Because if it's straight or towed out, then they're going to want to spread. Like if you're on skis, you're going to be like, whoa.
Oh,
so you
that
keep
makes
them
sense.
Keep them straight and narrow. And like 1/8 inch on this amount is very minimal. So let's get the tape measure and let's check it.
I like it.
Very basic front end alignment. We're just gonna put it in the tread because these are brand new tires. We got 73 and 5/8, 74 and 1/4. Yeah, we're gonna have to cut that one too. Let's do the same. So I just cut that much off. That way this can close. Give us a better measurement. I might have bumped this a little bit. Yeah, I did. There we go. All right, as we were. 74 and a half, 73 and a half. Let's go 74, 74 and 1/4, 73 and a half. So they're 3/4 of an inch off. So we need to split that to 3/8. 1, 2, 74, 74, There it is. So it's even 74. I'm just gonna take that in just a little bit. That was a little bit more than we needed. Right there. Should put the strap on it, but I'm feeling lucky. That amount of adjustment is gonna be like just a mini turn on that. Yeah, right there. Come on, stay. Right there. Cool. Do the same thing, or run a bead right over there to trap it. So we don't break anything. I'm going to take the weight off of this. We're going to see if it steers.
Yay.
You think you're gambling, lady?
Hey,
You want to take any bets?
it's a spice of life, man.
Want to take any bets on this?
I think it's gonna steer.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple setup.
Man, you say that so confidently.
I told you. It steers, Mikey. It steers.
So you see why I cut this here? Because we don't want it to interfere.
Mm-hmm. I can sit on here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, totally works. Almost too easy, huh?
So satisfying to watch.
Oh.
She steers. Y'all know this is the build, one of the builds we started the channel with, and she steers.
I feel like it steers a little harder to the right.
Oh, really?
Well, look at this. Unless I made one miscalculation. I mean, it's adjustable, but before we weld it, that's what I was getting at. Let's just say, so yeah, you know, the best laid plans, etc., without going through a whole bunch of stuff. I just thought, you know, coming from the steel here, we're at 6 3/4 out, right? Now watch how far this goes in. This goes inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at this side. We're roughly at the same here, 6 3/4. Well, look, this doesn't even come to it. I mean, to split the difference, see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this is right here. It's just coming to this line. And this one is coming a full inch past.
Ah.
So that means we want to move it a 1/2 inch over. So before we get too committed, let's just do that. Because a 1/2 inch in this motion equals a lot in this motion. I mean, just look at the tires.
That was going to be my question.
So we want this one to pull this way. We want that one to tuck in a little bit. Let me slice it. And that's why we tack welded it. Let's move this 1/2 inch out. Yeah. We'll do 3/8. And now, because I'm feeling good about this, I'm going to go ahead and plug weld right through that hole. Yeah. Put that strap back on. All right, let's check our alignment once more. 4.5. Definitely got to pull in.
What's the verdict?
I gotta loosen this up. We want this at 74. Yeah, I gotta trim that just a little bit more. So what I accomplished here was basically the rack you know, was a little bit that way to start with, but what I did is I dialed it in so that's centered, and then the tires are straight. Right there. Yep. Cool. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to run that weld across. Then I'm going to fill one of those plug welds. See how that ends up over there. Check once more. And one thing, I don't want to heat this up too much because everything's nice and greased up. So I don't want to get the ends too hot.
What does it do? Burn the grease off?
Yeah, and I'll have to take apart everything and re-lube it.
You don't want that.
All right, so let's see what these ends are doing now. Steering in. That's just touching the edge. Yep, totally cool. So that comes in. Touch the edge.
Okay.
We get the full lock to lock action.
That noise is funny.
Hmm?
I said that noise is funny.
Yeah. We're building cartoon cars. They gotta have cartoon noises.
I'm a child.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let that cool, but I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna preheat this with the oxyacetylene torch. How's that sound?
All the squeaky noise. So you're gonna heat it. So with the acetylene torch, you're gonna heat it. Why?
To be sure that it doesn't crack.
Ah, okay.
And everyone that wants to chime in about why I'm using a cutting torch instead of a heating torch, now's your time to chime in. Because I do what I want. And flame is flame. So this casting is massive. So we're going to heat that up.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, we're just going to heat up the casting.
Oh wow, I can feel the warmth.
Oh yeah, this is hot. So we're not going to worry about that because that's plenty hot.
So you're warming that up so the welds don't crack.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And it might crack when we heat it too. 'Cause it's going to expand. That's why we definitely don't want this breaking while we're driving. And welding to the axle, you know, it's debatable. We're going to add some strength to this also, but, you know, lowriders do it all the time. This is a cast steel piece. You know, it flexes is what I'm getting at. So that's why we're going to put some bracing in here before we're done also. But could this warp the axle? Possibly. Am I worried about it?
Nah. So you're on Team Naughty.
So what's happening is this big chunk of steel is just pulling that heat out of there. So once it catches up and turns red, we're ready to weld. it comes. Can you hand me my welder and that torch? It's starting to glow a little bit. So between this and the arc of that welder, we're gonna get a big hot. You're gonna hear the difference in the welder. It's just gonna mush right together. That's what we're looking for. And like around these two tack welds, there's a pretty good amount of stress because they were cooler. So heating it to red like that's stress relieving it a little bit. Helping spread out the shock of that really hot weld on the cold steel. All right, we got it glowing. I'm satisfied with that. I'm gonna step in and blast this straight across. Cool. Let's do this side.
Whoa.
Like that.
That was a magic trick.
Glasses. I'm just going to do one more pass over there while they're hot. All right, so what I did is a cover pass. I just went really big and sloppy over the top. I'm going to, cut these back and dress them a little bit, but the idea was I wanted a ton of heat, really soaking this. So I did extra welding and I'll dial it back in the end. But again, I don't want to overheat everything. So right now, that's going to go back to that's going to go back to room temperature. And I call that steering modification a success. Now for your favorite noise.
I really am a child.
I'll probably just take the impact wrench and just get rid of that whole thing.
Get rid of what?
I'll just get out the big air impact wrench and just knock that right off.
Yeah.
And this may be a piece that goes to the other crane turner thing. Yeah. Dodge Ram 3500 steering wheel. Steering rack. Steering wheel's next. First, we're going to make some cab mounts. We're going to get this into place. And we'll work forward from there.
And it's good to be back in the shop.
We're rocking. I'm stoked. Jamie's stoked.
Yeah.
Holiday season's upon us. Team Naughty's got some work to do. We'll see you next time. I might even be dressed like an elf.